The note was taped to the fridge in permanent marker like it was some kind of joke. Deal with this mess yourself. By mess, they meant my grandmother. By deal, they meant watch her die quietly. They'd all left for the coast. My parents, my sister, even my uncle who hadn't visited in 6 years. They packed bags, slammed the door, and drove off in the SUV we all shared. No groceries left behind. No money. Just the sharp scent of abandonment and a silent house full of echoing betrayals. I found Grandma the next morning, half-conscious, lips cracked, breath shallow. Her oxygen tank was empty, her water untouched. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. The only thing louder than her silence was the sound of my own guilt, building in my chest like a scream I couldn't let out. I ran to the kitchen, phone in hand, dialing 911. But then, her hand moved. Ice-cold fingers gripped my wrist with a strength that didn't match her condition. Her voice was gravel when she whispered, "Don't call the doctors. Look, under the dresser. Then you'll understand why they'll come crawling back." I froze. "Grandma, you need?" Her grip tightened. "No hospitals," she rasped, locking eyes with mine. "Go." I obeyed. I went into her bedroom, moved aside the worn rug, and crouched. My heart was hammering. I reached under the dresser, and my hand landed on a sealed metal box, ice cold. I pulled it out slowly. Inside was something that made my breath catch, and made me realize my family had made the worst mistake of their lives. Inside the box was a flash drive, a thick envelope, and a tiny velvet pouch tied shut with a string that looked older than me. I went with the envelope first. Bank statements. Not just Grandma's personal account, but a trust account. $2.8 million. Active. Hidden. My name on it. I blinked. There were property deeds. 2 houses. 1 rental apartment building in Denver. Stocks in her late husband's energy company. She'd been playing poor her whole life, wearing the same wool coat since 1998. Why hide all this? I was halfway through the folder when I remembered the drive. I plugged it into my old laptop and found exactly 1 video file. Titled, "For Ethan Only. Don't Trust Them." My fingers trembled as I hit play. Grandma was in her armchair. Same floral robe. Same cold, calculating eyes. "Ethan," she said, voice strong and lucid. "If you're watching this, they've left me to die. As expected." She didn't flinch. "I never forgot what they did to your mother. How they laughed at her funeral. How your father forged her will. They think they're smart. But I'm smarter." She held up a yellow folder. "And here is the full story. The documents. The transfers. The betrayal." I paused the video and opened the velvet pouch. Inside was a key. I didn't know what it opened, but I was starting to believe. Grandma didn't want to be rescued. She wanted revenge. And she just made me her weapon. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with Grandma's folders spread out like a war map. Her handwriting was scrawled across dozens of pages, each line a breadcrumb leading deeper into a buried family conspiracy. Buried until now. She detailed how my uncle, my mother's older brother, convinced her to transfer power of attorney, claiming it would help manage her declining health. That was 5 years ago. Since then, my father, uncle, and aunt had secretly drained her accounts, sold one of her properties without her consent, and funneled profits into a company they owned together. A company listed under a different surname so it wouldn't raise alarms. But the killer? A forged document. One where my grandmother had allegedly signed away the trust fund, to my cousin Chloe, the golden child. The same cousin who once told me to get a real job when I said I was freelancing. It all started to click. The family hadn't left me to care for Grandma out of love or trust. They thought she was dying. And when she did, they planned to walk in, claim everything, and smile for the funeral photos. But Grandma knew. She'd set this whole thing in motion. A quiet, calculated trap. And I had just found the bait. That key in the pouch? I held it under the dim kitchen light. Grandma had scribbled 2 words on the tag tied to it. Boathouse. Bottom drawer. I hadn't been out there in years. But I knew exactly what drawer she meant. And if it held what I thought it did, the family was about to fall apart. The boathouse creaked like it had a secret to tell. I hadn't been here since I was 16, when Grandpa taught me to fish off the dock and told me, never trust a man who smiles when he lies. I opened the door slowly. Dust particles danced in the late morning sunbeams, and the air smelled like old cedar and lake water. Bottom drawer. I crossed to the wooden dresser in the corner, one drawer stained darker than the rest. The same one Grandma had always warned kids not to open. "That drawer bites," she'd say. Guess that was her way of saying, "Not yet." The key slid in perfectly. Click. Inside was a thick, leather-bound ledger. Handwritten. With tabs. Names. I flipped open the first page and nearly dropped it. It was a record of every unauthorized withdrawal made from Grandma's estate. Dates, amounts, account numbers, IP addresses, even login locations. It wasn't just notes, it was forensic-level evidence. And Grandma had signed each page with a notary seal. This was a kill switch. I turned the next page, photos. My aunt signing a document she claimed she never saw. My cousin Chloe at a bank window depositing funds labeled, Trust Dispersal. And then, the last envelope. It was sealed, addressed to Attorney General's Office. Confidential elder abuse and financial exploitation case. I sat back. Grandma had spent 5 years gathering this. Waiting. Planning. This wasn't just a trap. It was a legal execution. And I was holding the blade. I drove back to the house with the sealed envelope pressed to my chest like it was made of glass. Grandma was still in bed, her breathing shallow but steadier than before. I placed a glass of water on the nightstand and whispered, I know everything now. Her eyes fluttered open, not with fear, not even pain, but peace. She gripped my hand again and whispered, It's time. The moment I stepped out of her room, I heard the front door open. Wow, you actually stayed? Chloe's voice called out. Didn't think you had the spine for hospice care. Behind her, Uncle Drew marched in with a duffel bag of food and a Bluetooth speaker. A little jazz to lighten the mood, he said, casually stepping over Grandma's oxygen tubing like it was trash. They moved like they owned the place, opening cupboards, checking drawers, grabbing snacks. Drew even turned the volume up on the speaker so loud the windows shook. That's when I snapped. I walked to the middle of the living room, pulled out my phone and connected it to the smart TV. Chloe rolled her eyes, until the first image popped up. A notarized statement. Her name. Her signature. Her theft. Then came the bank records. The screenshots. The transfers. Their faces drained of color as the TV became a courtroom. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, and let the truth scream louder than their music. And then came the final blow. I showed them the envelope. Labeled. Dated. Ready for court. You wouldn't dare, Chloe hissed, stepping forward like she could snatch the envelope from my hand. I didn't move. Behind her, Uncle Drew fumbled to pause the speaker, suddenly all nerves. This is blackmail, he muttered. No, I said calmly. It's evidence. The room was frozen. The only sound was the faint hum of Grandma's oxygen machine from the hallway, and the slow, sinking realization that they were exposed. I have backups, I added, setting the envelope gently on the mantel, but I thought I'd give you both a chance. Chloe's face twisted. A chance for what? To return what you took, I said. To apologize. To leave, and never step foot near Grandma again. Chloe started laughing. You think this little presentation scares us? I reached for the remote and pressed play again. A video began. Security footage. Their car. The trunk open. Dragging antique boxes marked estate items. Dated the day Grandma collapsed. Drew's mouth dropped open. Where did you even get that? Neighbor's camera, I said. The one you mocked for being too paranoid. I walked over and picked up the envelope again. Here's the deal. You give everything back. You admit what you did in writing. Or I take this to the probate court and every last dime Grandma intended for you will evaporate in litigation and criminal charges. Drew was already sweating. Chloe's silence was the loudest sound in the room. I turned off the TV. The screen went black. Their faces did too. By morning the panic had started. Chloe sent a 4-paragraph email titled Family Misunderstanding. Uncle Drew called twice, leaving voicemails that started apologizing and ended threatening. I didn't answer either. Instead, I walked into Grandma's room. She was sitting up. Alert. Did they see the video? She asked, her voice still raspy. I nodded. And? They know you're not helpless anymore. She smiled faintly. Good. What she said next stayed with me. They treated me like I was furniture. But a chair doesn't leave a will. That afternoon I drove to the county office. With the copies of the evidence, Grandma's medical statements, and her newly updated living will, signed last week, under full mental clarity, witnessed by 2 doctors and her attorney. The documents clearly outlined. Immediate disinheritance of Chloe and Drew. Protection orders filed if either attempted contact. 100% control of Grandma's healthcare, estate and power of attorney transferred to me. Legally airtight. By the time I returned home, Chloe had posted a cryptic Instagram story. Some people betray their own blood for money. Karma's coming. I screen recorded it, forwarded it to our attorney. We weren't just playing defense now. We were fortifying. Noah, my cousin, texted me that night. Just one line. I'm sorry. I didn't know what they were doing. I replied, you do now. Choose who you want to be. He never responded. But I didn't need him to. Because tomorrow the lawyer would send the final letter. The letter was sent at 9:01 a.m. By 10:17, Chloe was at the front door, pounding like it owed her something. I didn't answer. The letter wasn't just a legal formality, it was the final cut. It notified Chloe and Uncle Drew that they were officially removed from all estate benefits, prohibited from contacting Grandma, and under investigation for elder abuse and financial coercion. The house. Off limits. The accounts. Locked. The inheritance. Gone. All gone. They called Grandma a burden. A liability. Now they understood who held the real power. Grandma, fragile but fierce, stood beside me at the living room window, watching Chloe's car reverse off the gravel like a bat out of hell. She exhaled slowly, like her lungs were finally expanding after years of being compressed. Think she'll come back? I asked. She smiled. Not without a lawyer. We both laughed. That night I sat on the porch staring at the sky. It was finally quiet. No backhanded comments. No guilt-laced expectations. No poisoned Christmas dinners. Just me, my grandmother, and a future finally free of people who confused love with ownership. I picked up my phone. Opened a blank document. Title: The last gift I gave my family was the one they never saw coming. It was time to write everything down. Because stories like this, they don't start with betrayal. They start with silence. But they end with fire. And now, it was over. For her. For me. For good.